Righty, welcome everyone as you join us this evening. We're still seeing people jump on, so we're going to take some time and make sure that everyone is able to jump in and get access to everything that they need. We have quite a few people who are joining us this evening, so we are going to make sure that if we hit capacity for the Zoom webinar piece of it, that we have time for people to transition over to Facebook. So while we are doing that, if you want to go ahead and in the at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A chat function that we're going to use for tonight. If you can go ahead and access that and just go ahead and put, similar to if you joined us for the housing contract webinar, where you're joining us from, so that we can see where everyone is coming from this evening. We would love to hear from you. Looks like we have Colorado, Kansas City, Minnesota, Olathe, California, Texas, Missouri, Illinois, more Kansas. Kansas makes sense. Arizona. Wonderful. Wonderful. Kansas, if you're just joining us, if you want to put in the Q&A function where you're joining us from. Got Wichita, Oklahoma City, Overland Park, Connecticut, lots of different places in here. So again, just making sure we have time for everyone to jump onto Facebook if we need them to, and just continue sharing where you're from, and then we will jump in here to the webinar content in a moment. Just looking to see where everyone is. So we got some Pennsylvania, Houston, Lawrence. It's awesome. Manhattan. Always great to have some local people joining us. Wonderful. Well, while we still have people jumping on, I'm going to transition us over into introductions. So you will be hearing from two of us this evening. So I'll start with myself. My name is Whitney Penn. I'm an assistant director. I specifically work with student recruitment, marketing, and communications. And then we will have Kathy Van Steenis, who's the assistant director for contracts and occupancy management, who's going to be walking us through the live demonstration of room selection. So if you joined us for the housing contract webinar, you probably have seen both of our faces and same pictures for introductions then, but we are covering room selection, of course, this evening. So to jump on in, just wanted to talk about or give you a sense of what we're covering for this evening. So we have people who have joined us for the housing contract webinar. We also have new students, family members. So we're going to have some information that's a little bit similar, or at least that's overlap between the two webinars. So we're going to talk about our first year residency, just a reminder there. We're going to talk about the phase that we're in, which is the explore your options within our housing process. We're going to talk about editing your housing contract, room and roommate selection. Then Kathy is going to do that live demonstration of room selection through different scenarios. And then we're going to end with talking about kind of what's upcoming for summer, things to think about, and then kind of a more formal Q&A session. So that's what we have in store for this evening. And with the last or the final Q&A piece, I did just want to mention, again, similar to the housing contract webinar, if you joined us, we want you to submit your questions throughout the webinar. So if you're within Zoom, use that Q&A feature. So where you dropped all of the places that you're joining us from, ask your questions in there. If you're joining us on Zoom, add a comment, and our team behind the scenes is going to respond to your questions throughout the presentation, either within that Q&A feature or on Facebook. So we want to make sure that we get your questions answered as we go through in real time throughout the evening. This webinar is going to be recorded. It's going to be posted to our website. We're going to email it tomorrow with a recording link. So anyone who is unable to join, or if you need to drop off a little bit early this evening, or just to circle back and make sure you know what information was shared, that recording will be available for you as well. The one thing I do want to highlight is what we're not covering this evening is move-in information. We're going to have a move-in webinar over the summer. I'll provide more information about that, and we'll give you some critical dates to start thinking about, but we're really focused on room selection with this webinar, and then we'll give more information about move-in as we progress forward. So I will be sharing when that move-in webinar is scheduled when we get to the end of the presentation. Perfect. So jumping in to the content specifically. So as a reminder, all of Manhattan campus first-year students are required to live on campus the first 2 semesters. The exemption process is live for students and has been since the housing contract opened. So if you scan the QR code there, that will take you to our first-year living website. You can also put that link into a browser. That will take you to more information about the exemption or possible exemption categories for which you might be able to apply for an exemption request. The important thing to know is that there are some common exemptions. So if you are thinking about living in a fraternity or other off-campus approved living option, if you're going to be a commuter student, so within a certain distance of Manhattan, or if you're a non-traditional student, this may be something that you want to do. We wanted to make sure to mention this because if at this point you do not have a completed housing contract or an approved exemption request, you will not be able to register for orientation, which opened last week. So important for you to be able to move forward in scheduling the various pieces that are included within orientation, but just in general, also important for you to solidify housing information as you move forward. So if you have questions about that, specifically reach out directly to us. You can, again, put your questions in the Q&A or reach out to us at the contact information at the bottom of the slide here. All right, so within the last webinar, we talked about step 1 of our housing process. We are currently in step 2 of our housing process, essentially. So this started back in January, and this was the time for you to be able to explore what different options you have available on campus. So we've done that through a variety of ways, and you can still do that through a variety of ways. So one was through our community spotlights. You can see some pictures from those community spotlights here, kind of on the outer edges of the slide. If you have not followed us on social media, I would suggest you do that. Our information is over here. And that's where those community spotlights are, which just gives you a look into essentially kind of what each community offers and why you may want to choose one community over another, specifically in regards to like what kind of events they have and what kind of atmosphere and those different pieces are a part of that community. So that's something that you can look back on starting back in January and see what community spotlights we have. And then we'll have about a week and a half left of those as well. The other thing that you can use to explore your options is our Explore Your Options tool. So if you were to scan the QR code in the right-hand side of the screen, bottom right-hand over here, that's going to take you to our Explore Your Options tool, and it's going to generate an image that looks something like this, depending on how many options you compare. It will allow you to look through what are the costs of each housing option that I'm interested in, by room style, by hall, and then you can also add in, or you would also add in your meal plan, so you can see the overall cost for yourself. Why this phase is important, before we jump into room selection, and why we want to reiterate this now, is that before you go into room selection, you're going to want to have different options available to you. So if your first or your second option are not available, you know what your third option is, or you know what your successive options are if you don't see some of those top choices available for you. And you can do that by using these different tools, using the Explore Your Options tool, and kind of figuring out for yourself what those top options are. We would suggest at least around 5 different options, so you have lots of different ones available to you. Perfect. So that's where we are right now. So I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into additional things to be considered as you're exploring your options. So We have residential cat communities, which we have talked about, and we've sent several different emails about these communities, but ultimately we have space in nearly all of our communities. The only communities that are full at this point are our animal health and nutrition and our engineering futures cat communities. However, students can be put on a wait list if they want to be considered for those communities specifically. And the idea of these is that you can create a smaller community within a larger residence hall. So students take classes together, connect over a shared area of interest. We just want to highlight these again because in particular, we have these 4 cat communities: fandom and film studies, psychology and social media, psychology of social media, small but mighty, and strengths, which are still great options for students to consider. And those are particular or specific to those communities that are specified right there. If you want to learn more about those cat communities, you can look back on any of those emails that we've sent, or you can visit that website, which has that QR code there. You can put in that link and find more information about the specific cat community in which you might be interested. Additional options. So we have a couple of scholars housing opportunities for you. So we have honors housing, which is available in all floors within Putnam and Van Zyl halls for students accepted into the University Honors Program. For actually both of these options, our priority application deadline has passed, but you are still welcome to apply if you would like to be considered to live in these communities. And so ultimately you want to apply as soon as possible. If you scan the QR code at the top right of this image, which is of that community, it will take you to the honors housing application. And I would just ask that you complete that as quickly as possible if this is something that you're interested in, so we can get you confirmed, because you're actually going to select earlier along with residential cat communities, which we will showcase here in a second, with an earlier room selection date. Just to note, if you have already applied for honors housing, acceptances went out last Friday. So if you have not yet taken a look at that email and responded to the survey asking you to confirm, please go ahead and do so. If you have any questions at all, my contact information is then in that email. Please reach out to me. We are trying to get everything set up before spring break, which is next week for us, so that you can get into that early room selection date and time on Monday, March 24th. So see that email if you have not yet applied. Please apply if you are interested. The Smurthwaite Scholarship and Leadership House is an all-female community. Again, that priority application deadline has passed, but we would love to have applications. That is a smaller living community, just 45 residents, and also requires an additional application. An important thing to note in general, if you've already applied for Smurthwaite, the process is still ongoing for that. But Smurthwaite is not going to be available for room selection in the resident portal because it's a manual placement process. So you're not going to see that pop up. You're actually going to still continue to go through that application process. And then later we will manually place you into the rooms within that community. All right. And then just in general, if you have any needs or would like to discuss accommodations or just want to talk through anything that's unique to you that you would like to look for or need within a community or need within a space that you are living, please reach out to us, contact us, either by calling us or emailing us and letting us know. We're going to send you information, talk with you, work with you to make sure that we are meeting whatever needs you have or whatever it may be that you're looking for within the community that you are looking at or considering. You can also take a look at our website and look at different options available there. Follow links to connect with different offices specific to those needs. But again, we just want to make sure that we support you in whatever you're looking for within the community. So please feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure that we are able to accommodate that and meet exactly what you're looking for. All right, so last time we talked about meal plans. When you completed your housing contract, if you have completed it at this point, you have already selected a meal plan, but I just want to make sure to highlight this specific to exploring your options, as this could affect your overall cost that you're paying for the semester and ultimately for the year. And so just remember that we have these two different meal plan options, our all access and weekly 12. So you can see what's associated with each of those meal plans within the table there. You are able to, at this point, make changes to that meal plan. So you can change from the all access to weekly 12, vice versa. So that may be something that you look at as you're considering your different options. And we'll highlight that here in a moment for you. Just something to keep in mind is our weekly 12 meal plan resets every Friday at 11:59. So meals aren't going to roll over from one week to the next. You're going to have those 12 meals every single week. So something just important to consider as you're thinking through your meal plan options. And then we just want to highlight again, dining dollars, which are an optional supplement. So down here on the right-hand side to your all access or weekly 12 meal plan. Those can be used in any of our housing and dining services retail locations, as well as participating student union restaurants. They're billed to your CASIS student account. So that's going to be the account that your tuition, fees, room, and boards or your other meal plan is going to be charged to. And there are specific promotions that are available throughout the year for students who have dining dollars, and again, just can supplement the meal plans that you have. Right. Advancing forward. So I talked about all of these different pieces, about the different options that you can consider your meal plan, etc. These are things that you can edit within your housing contract. So you can make those edits if you were to go into the resident portal underneath this housing contract 2025-2026 and click edit contract / dining dollars, click on that link. And then, as I mentioned before, you can change your meal plan. You can add dining dollars specifically to the housing options. You can add or remove break housing if that's something that you selected or want to select. And importantly, you can indicate interest in specialty housing options. So you can go back in there and indicate a specific CAT community if you're interested, so we can send you an email for steps that you need to complete to get to be confirmed in one of those communities. Additionally, for honors housing and Smurthwaite, we can send additional information for you as well, or you can just use that direct application link for both of those communities to apply. You can also add or change your preferred roommates, and then you can make changes to your information disclosure. So essentially who we can share information to about your housing contract, etc. The biggest thing to highlight is that if you make changes to your housing contract, that does not impact your original date and time that you submitted the contract. So ultimately, it's not going to impact your room selection date and time. So you can go in there and make as many changes as you would like. And that's not going to impact anything with your room selection date and time. Alrighty, so now that we talked about explore your options and everything to do to make sure you prepare for actually choosing your space, now we want to focus specifically on here are the next steps related to room selection. So as I mentioned, Monday, March 24th, students who are confirmed as part of a residential CAT community and have confirmed as honors housing be able to go in and begin selecting their space. That's going to be specific to the spaces available for that either of those communities. And then early to mid-April is when general room selection happens for everyone else. So again, that is determined by the date and time that you submitted your contract and your initial payment relative to all of the contracts that have been submitted for the upcoming academic year. So for 2025-2026. So we had thousands of contracts submitted within the first day, which is super exciting. We love to see that. That also means that you may have a slightly later room selection time than you initially thought, but we'll kind of break down what the actual room selection slots look like here in a moment to kind of explain that a little bit further to you. So that is right here. So as a reminder, hopefully you saw last Wednesday, if you do have a contract, that your room selection date and time can be viewed in the resident portal. So if you were to go into the resident portal, if you were to scan this, you can see that room selection date and time in there now. Kathy will show you what that looks like if you haven't seen that yet. The important thing to know is that this date and time is the earliest time that you can go in and select your space. So say that you are selecting on, let's say, whoops, that's March. Monday, April 14th at 4:00 p.m. That is your designated room selection date and time. You can go in on Monday, April 14th at 4:00 p.m. and select your space, or any time after that. You could go in at 6 p.m. You could go in the next day at 7 a.m. The important thing about that is just the earlier you select that space, the more potential options that you have available to you. So, but it doesn't mean you only have a 10-minute window or something like that to be able to select in. So again, that's just the beginning of your room selection time. And after that, you can go in at any point in time and make that selection. I mentioned the second point already, but just wanted to reiterate that there, that the room selection date and time is relative to all other contracts submitted. And the time slots that are scheduled, they are scheduled to begin every 15 minutes between 3 to 5 p.m. on weekdays. So what that means is that we kind of spread that out, one during the weekdays, to make sure that our staff is available to support you. If you have questions or concerns, we can help address that. But the other piece of that is that those room selection beginning dates and times are not going to happen on weekends. So it might look like you're a little bit further out because we don't have those initial times on a Saturday or a Sunday. So it's really specific to those days, and it's just that block of time. But we have a certain number of students who are scheduled within each of those 15 minutes as we open that up. And the last piece, you will only see spaces for which you're eligible to select and those that remain in inventory. So what that means is if you are a female student and you're looking at rooms available to you, you could see female rooms or co-ed rooms. You're not going to see rooms that are for male students. And then in addition to that, if you're looking for a specific room and you're not finding it, the likelihood is that that is no longer in inventory, and so you're not able to select that space at that time. So just a couple of things to note. And the last thing before we actually get into the demo is just talking about roommates. Just wanted to pause and talk about just for a moment, which you're going to see within Kathy's examples. You do not have to have a roommate identified before you select your room. Sorry about the noise. So what that means is if you do, that's fantastic. So if you have a confirmed group of you or another person who's confirmed as a roommate, just make sure that you have each other confirmed for sure within the contract so that you can pull each other into room selection. If you are still interested in finding a roommate, there still is time for you to use the RoomSync roommate matching app and find someone or different people that you would like to live with. Or if you have not identified a roommate yet, you can also essentially be placed with a roommate in a sense through our random or potluck style. So that's this second kind of bullet point option here. That can happen through a couple of different ways. So either you choose an open space with someone already in a room, or you can choose an empty room and another student selects the open space. So there are ways to be able to do that without having a confirmed roommate going into this room selection process. And again, I just want to reiterate that you can change your roommates and your confirmed roommates throughout this entire process. Highlight a little bit more about when you can make that change. But the suggestion would be if you're going to select a space that you want to do that and maybe confirm who your roommate is going to be, if there's a specific place you want to live and you know that as you approach room selection. Alrighty, so now that we've covered all of that content, I'm gonna have Kathy take over and she's gonna walk you through these different scenarios. And I will stop sharing my screen so that she can share hers.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions for you. We just want to go through a couple of different scenarios of what you might experience on those next couple of days. And so, as Whitney was saying, and I just kind of wanted to reiterate, we did have a record number of contracts submitted on that first day, and that was fantastic. We were very excited to see that. And so people that did a contract on the first day, some of their room selection times do not begin until April 9th. And so if you're like, I did my contract on the first day, why is my selection time so late? Just be aware that that is probably accurate and true. I promise I looked through every single contract and numbered them. But if you have questions or concerns, we're very happy to answer those for you. But so that's just kind of an update or being aware of that piece. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. We did see in one of the questions of how do I know where my room selection time is? And so this is a sample of what, or a screenshot of what your room select, your resident portal would look like. And if you look, and I apologize, this is a staff one, so you see lots of information on here, but down at the bottom, you'll see a select your room. And this one is set for 4/1 starting at 3 p.m. And so that's where you will see your room selection time. So if you're not sure when your room selection time is please just log into your resident portal and you should see that time listed there. So, okay, so my account is set up to be active at this point. So when that April 1 at 3 p.m. becomes live, that notice will turn into this link. And so just refresh the screen and you will see this link, select your room. You're going to click on that link. And so we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios here. And so one of the first ones is right now I am a confirmed roommate with Steph. I also preferenced our test two female. I wanted her to be my roommate, but she hasn't completed the contract yet. So she will not be assigned with me because she has not done that step. I have also requested Jordan Wolf to be my roommate. I have requested her, but she has not requested me. So therefore, if I select a room, Jordan also will not be in my room because she is not a confirmed roommate. So just for this scenario, you can actually uncheck this box and you can then go as a single individual. Steph will not come with me on this example. So I'm going to go by myself. I want to pick a traditional room. We have three different main room types. Traditional is a typical double room typically. Sometimes we have a few triple rooms in Putnam. So you and a roommate. It'll be a community bathroom down the hall. And I like to say when you go in, it's set up by items. So you'll go in and go to the left and you'll have 5 individual shower stalls. So one use, single use, 5 individual shower stalls. In the middle will be 5 sinks and then over on the right will be 5 individual toilet stalls. So it's kind of broken up by items. So those are our traditional rooms. Our traditional private rooms are in Weefald and West Hall, and Moore Hall is being renovated to also include traditional private. In there, it's still a community bathroom. So you have a traditional room, you're sharing it with one roommate typically. Community bathroom down the hall, but instead of being split up by items, it's split up by room. So you'll walk in and there's 5 individual rooms. Inside each room is a sink, a shower, and a toilet behind a lockable door. So just a little additional privacy. We often describe it as like the bathroom at home. Everybody at home uses it, but one at a time. So on that. And then a suite style room is you and your roommates, and then there's a bathroom attached to that room. So only the individuals living in that suite will have access to that bathroom. The traditional and traditional private bathrooms are cleaned by housing and dining services staff on that daily basis. The suite bathroom is cleaned by the individuals living in that room. So if you're not wanting to clean your bathroom, maybe looking at the traditional or traditional private option if that works for you. So I'm going to go in here and in this scenario, I'm going to attempt to demonstrate I don't have a preferred roommate at this time. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to pick a traditional double room and we'll pull this up here. And I'm going to select into Marlette Hall. You can see on the right here where if there's two green spaces, those are two open beds. So this 115 is a completely open room. You can see that there's somebody here in this room, 317, 321. They already have one person located in that room. Once both of the beds are taken in the room, it will come off this list. So as we go through room select, this list will get smaller and smaller. So just being aware of that. The other thing to note is I am only seeing rooms that are gendered to be female. And so this is not all of the rooms in the system. These are the rooms that are designated for females, or these are the rooms that I am going to be eligible for on that. So I'm going to pick 616 right now. Um, and so as um, Whitney was saying, when you come into this room, you can do a view room, and this will give you an example of what this room will look like, just kind of a rendering there. It will also tell you who else is assigned to this. So right now, Whitney is assigned to this room. I can see that she's not a smoker. She doesn't want to live with a smoker. She's a psychology major, and she's 19. And so I can generally say, okay, she's probably an incoming first year student on that and this smoking preference. So we just talked with our residence life folks and said, what are some of those um, bigger concerns that most people have with roommates, and so those were some of the top ones. Again, room sync, if you have the ability to use room sync, you're going to learn a lot more about those roommates. So this is just a very small snapshot of what that person might be. What I would recommend is if you do select this room that you immediately try and get a hold of Whitney and start that conversation, start that dialogue, and maybe it's not a good fit and you find that out right away. Great, go back into the system and pick a new room. So it's just really important to go through and start those conversations. Over on this down below, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see a floor plan of that actual floor and where that room is actually located on that floor. So you'll know, okay, I'm going to be 2 down from the bathroom. I'm closer to the lobby. So you can pick your room based on that information as well. We're also going to show you this is the room cost for that particular room, and this is the meal plan I currently have selected. I can change it to either of the options in this scenario if I would like. I also have the ability to add dining dollars to my account. Again, not required to do this at this time, but it is an option that you can choose. If you want to go into Marlette 616, you can just hit the reserve room and meal plan. We're going to hit OK on that. It's going to process through. And so when it comes back to this room and it will show you, or this page, it will say, I've been assigned to Marlette Hall 616 for the Residence Halls 25-26 academic year. So I can also get to that information if I am back on my home page. I'll go back there as it's loading all of my information. My account is very busy. Yours won't be this busy. I have lots of accounts I'm testing on that. So I'll show you maybe you email with Whitney and you're like, nope, this is not a good fit. So you can go in and change your room selection as many times as you want up until July 1st. We tell them 100 times a day if you want as you go around and just select the people. So just making sure you can see your assignment information. Where have I been assigned? You can see that assignment information here, or you can also go back to the home page. And again, if you click on the select your room button again, so maybe I don't want to be in Marlette 616. I can do what we call change room. So you'll come down here, you'll click this change room button, and it will take you back through that entire process again. So not a problem at all. Again, for this next scenario, I just want to show you how to change that room. I'm going to unselect Stephanie's at this point. I'm going to go into that traditional room style. Maybe I want to live on the derby side. So I'm just going to click that traditional double room and I'm going to hit search on that. And then I'm going to go over to Moore Hall and I'm going to join 118. And my colleague Laynon happens to live in 118. So she's an education major. She also doesn't smoke. And so if I want to go with that room, again, I could just hit the reserve room and meal plan option on there. So that's how you would go through and change your room. Um, Now, the other thing that I want to highlight is that when you select your room, it kind of takes what your account is at that moment in time. So as you notice that I had a couple of roommates that were not confirmed at that time that I made that selection. So even if they go confirm later, my room selection will, or my room assignment will not be updated. We have to resync the system. They're kind of in two different locations. So if you make any changes to your roommate preferences, make sure that you come back and you update your reservation here in the resident portal. So just being aware of that. In this case, am going to go change my room, and Jordan, I will go and add Jordan or myself to Jordan's account. Hold on, just really quick. Um, okay, add there. All right. Now, when I update my system, apologies, you can now see that Jordan is also a confirmed roommate on there. So I'm going to go back through now, and I want to pick maybe a suite on there. So I'm going to go to the suite. I want a 2-person by 2-person suite. I'm going to hit search on that. I've got some options available in Ford. I'm just going to pick on this first one. Again, if I scroll down, this is the 102, this is the 104. How it loads is that whoever is selecting, it's going to load into the lowest room number. So 102, and then it will load into 104. So the three of us can go together. These are the two other roommates that I have at this time, and I can reserve that room and that meal plan. And I can go through that and hit the reserve. So now when I come back, I can see that I've got Jordan and I have Stephanie as my two preferred roommates in this room style, and I am assigned to Ford 102 on that. So that's a way that you can change rooms. The other thing that I wanted to point out, so those of you that might be interested in the 2x2 rooms, the way you often, or not you, because you've not done this, people in the past, they've called and said, hey, I didn't get the roommate that I wanted. I'm with somebody that I want to be on the other side of the suite. So the way that the system assigns people is if I am making the selection for my group. So if I want a 2x2, I have 3 roommates selected. As long as we are all confirmed roommates, I can have everyone go in and they will all be assigned based on my room selection. The person that is roommate number 1 will become my roommate. Roommate 2 and 3 will be assigned as your suite mates, if that makes sense. So HDS Test 2 female and I will be in room 102. Jordan and Stephanie are going to be assigned to room 104 in Ford Hall in this scenario. So go ahead and make sure you look at your roommates, and as you decide if you want to go for a 2x2 option, as you decide, okay, I want to be this person's roommate and this person is going to be my suite mate, just make sure that you update your contract to have that roommate 1 be the person that you want to live with, and then your suite mates in 2 and 3. And if you can have all 4 of you do that, that again, it just helps the system. Inevitably, you may get that mixed up, or you may end up in the room and you want it switched. You can contact our office. We're happy to switch it. Maybe me and HDS Test 2 female want to be in 104 and Jordan and Stephanie want to be in 102. The system doesn't know that. They're just going to place me in 102. As long as we hear from all 4 roommates that they want that switch to happen, we're happy to do that. So you would just email housing@ksu.edu. All 4 roommates need to be included in that, and then we can make that switch very easily on the back end. We're probably going to be sending out some confirmation emails, probably in May, early June, that just says, hey, this is who you're assigned with. If that needs to change, just let us know. We want to get you into the room setting that you want overall. So on that piece. And then the other thing that I wanted to demo just really quickly here, I've got Landon up here, but I am going to put myself in honors housing, which is similar to that cat community piece. And then what's going to happen then if I refresh this page, go back to my home page. And if I am in a cat community or honors housing, I'm only going to be shown the residence hall spaces that are eligible. So for instance, AP Design Cat Community is in our Kramer complex, so you won't be seeing any of the Derby side, things like that. So just making sure that you update that. Let me go through here really quick. Sorry, let me do this off screen so I can do it faster. Gonna drop my assignment. Okay, we'll refresh this. The other thing while we're waiting, we are actually going to release an inventory link on March 25th. And so that's when you and your roommates would be able to go in and say, hey, how many 2x2 suites are left in Fort Hall? We won't say specific suites. It will just say there's 15 left or there's 20 left if you have a good group size of 4. So that will come on March 25th. So be on the lookout for that. There will be a link on that homepage that just says inventory link. So you'll be able to select on that. And let me see. Okay, so I'm going to go back through. I'm going to take these off just as this demo. I'm going to pick that traditional double room. And because I'm in honors housing, it's going to be showing me just Putnam Hall. And I just have these set up for that particular one. So then it will show me that this is where my cat community is going to be. This is also a really good time to just make sure that folks know we are really excited. Housing and Dining is working hard to update our facilities. We are working on Boyd Hall, renovating Boyd Hall right now. We are also renovating the B wing of Moore Hall, which we anticipate will be open this fall. And then A wing will be under construction in the fall semester. So if you choose to live in Putnam Hall because you're an honors housing student, just be aware that as soon as Boyd Hall renovation is done, sometime in October, November is the current anticipation, we will be moving those students from Putnam into the newly renovated Boyd Hall. So just being aware of that. We tried to put that notice out here so when you're selecting that space, you know, and we'll make sure that you know it as you're moving in, but you will be moving during that fall semester over to that Boyd Hall. You'll get a lot of information if it applies to you. So just being aware of that information on there. And I think I can then turn it back over to you, Whitney, unless there are any other questions out there specifically.
Perfect. Yeah, let me share my screen again. There's some kind of final things to be thinking about. We have plenty of time to be able to continue asking questions. So I know we have lots of questions still within the Q&A and potentially within chat on Facebook. But now that we've walked you through that information, Kathy has shown you what these different scenarios look like, what to look for, essentially how everything is going to look. We just want to provide you some tips and essential information as we move into room selection. So In general, several people have asked about this and how to access this, but for now, we've been sending communications both to your K-State email and a personal email address that you would have provided as an alternative email address within your housing contract. We will, as we get closer to the summer, start sending exclusively to your K-State email so you can make that transition. So it's important to get into the practice of checking that K-State email regularly. If you go to the main housing K-State let me rephrase that. The main K-State webpage, at the top, there's a way to access, says sign in, and it expands links. You can connect with webmail there. You can access your K-State email through that, or just searching it on the website as well to be able to access that if you have not yet been able to log into your K-State email. The other thing to know is that you will be able to view our inventory live. So starting on Wednesday, March 26th, you're gonna be able to view available rooms throughout the room selection process. So what's gonna be in there is what's available at the time in which you go in there and look at that inventory link. So just something for you to think about. You can be able to see, you can go in on March 26th and you would be able to see what rooms are open at that point. And then as the room selection process opens to the rest of students in April. Regardless, even if you have kind of a middle of April room selection date or time, we're going to have rooms available for you. So we'll have space on campus. And so just know that as you go into that process. Another important consideration is we provide a lot of flexibility for you to cancel your housing contract. So initially, generally, you pay $230 initial payment. If you cancel by June 1st, you'll receive 200 of that back. So if you choose no longer to attend K-State, or if you are approved for an exemption and have a housing contract, you'll be able to receive that portion back. If you cancel after June 1st, then that will result in no refund for you, but you will still have that flexibility to be able to cancel after that date. In general, you can make changes to your room, so whichever room you select within the resident portal until July 1st. The differences for CAT community or honors housing students, that's a manual process, so you'll need to contact us directly to let us know if you want to make a room selection change, and we will make that for you. But again, you have until July 1st to make those changes, and ultimately you have until July 1st to select a space. But we very much encourage you to do that as soon as you can, so that you have that space confirmed. And I do want to say that if you select a space, you can still cancel that housing contract. There's not going to be any additional penalty for having selected a space and canceling that contract. So that's an important thing to know if you're thinking about cancellation, or you get to a point where you need to consider cancellation. In general, as you start preparing for room selection in the coming weeks, if you have not already, make sure that you're able to get into your accounts. So accessing the resident portal. So specifically, if you have any EID issues, which your EID is the login and password, or specifically the login, but then additionally the password that you use to access any K-State systems. You will use that to log into the resident portal. If you're having any issues, please reach out to the K-State IT desk. We're not able to help with those specific issues. They are able to do that. So you can email helpdesk@k-state.edu or call them at the number provided there and have them help walk you through what those issues are and resolve that for you. In general, after we get through the Q&A, at any point in time, if you still have questions, visit our room selection FAQ, so frequently asked questions webpage. So you can scan the QR code on the right-hand side here. That will take you to that webpage and give you access to a lot of the topics that we've talked about today, so that if you're like, I can't quite remember this, or now I thought of this question, you can visit that page and get more information. Alrighty, so the last thing, the kind of initial thing that we'll talk about in terms of move-in is this slide right here. So essentially what's next for you as you're thinking about summer and transitioning onto campus in the fall. So June through July will be both in-person and virtual programming for orientation. If you are coming in person, that's going to include a tour of your residence hall, and that's specifically of the residence hall that you have selected your room to be in. So for example, if you selected Marlatt, a room in Marlatt, you're going to be able to see Marlatt. The important piece of that, though, is that you're not going to be able to tour your specific room, but we will have rooms available for you to see so that you get a good sense of when you come to move in later, what that room is going to look like, what's available to you, what the space looks like, different arrangements you can make with the furniture, all of those different pieces. So keep that in mind, that that's going to be a part of that orientation programming within the summer. Additionally, looking specifically at July, so no, this question was asked earlier and I mentioned it on like the second slide of the presentation. We will have a move-in webinar on Tuesday, July 8th. So save that date. Again, we will go through everything that you need to know about what to bring, how to make the process the most efficient and best process that you can. What should you be bringing? What should you be packing? How our process works, how to sign up for an appointment, because you will need to do that. And it will look, if you've done this, if as a parent or you've had a sibling who has gone to K-State, this is going to look maybe a little bit different this year for them. So we're going to highlight, or for you, so we're going to highlight what that looks like. And then on July 15th, we will send written details about that move-in process, and then the appointment link for that as well. What that's going to connect to is the actual move-in dates that you're going to set that appointment for. So early move-in dates are going to be August 17th and 19th. That is a Sunday and a Tuesday. So you would be able to move in early if you are interested. Early move-in is a $55 per day cost that covers both the room and your meals for those days or day that you would be there early. If you are thinking about or are going to be participating in sorority recruitment, or if you're going to be a part of band, that move-in process is going to look a little bit different for you. It's going to be maybe a little bit earlier. We will send more information in the summer specifically about that, but I just want to mention we're going to have that difference. And then Wednesday, August 20th is when our residence halls officially open. So that's when regular move-in begins. That's the start of the housing contract. So all included within the overall rate that you're paying for the room. And so that's tends to be our biggest day of move-in. And then that is followed Thursday through Sunday by K-State Kickoff, which are the orientation events where we do fun things, and the Office of Recruitment and Admissions has lots of things planned. So most students are moved in by August 20th so they can participate in that K-State Kickoff. So just some important information for you to know. You can visit our website and access this move-in information if you want to start looking at what you need to bring. You do not need to yet, but for those of you who would like to get a jump start on looking at this information, we will be sending out some information soon to say, here's some resources you can look at to get started with this process if you are interested. All right. So last thing, I mentioned this before, but if you haven't followed us yet on social media, please go ahead and do so. That could be a Facebook or Instagram. Part of that is because tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., we are going to have be on Instagram Live from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. again, Central Time, answering any additional follow-up questions you have or things you maybe didn't think about this evening, or really just anything related to room selection. If you have some move-in questions, we can kind of start directing you to resources there as well. So feel free to join us tomorrow, ask those questions, and we'd be happy to continue answering those for you. So at this point, we're gonna kind of formally transition into the Q&A. So our team behind the scenes and Kathy and I are gonna continue responding to questions that are here, but probably live, we will respond to any specific questions that maybe we see coming up frequently over the next several minutes, and we'll make sure that we are able to get your questions answered. So anything that you have seen, Kathy, that would be helpful to
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah, can I go ahead and share my screen again?
Yeah.
So I know. And okay, so one of the questions that I apologize I missed in the demo, I did not think through was, how will I know if I am on a co-ed floor? So we do have some co-ed floors that are in Weefald Hall and West Hall. Those are our traditional private. Those are where they have those community bathrooms, but they're the lockable bathrooms. So we do have a couple of co-ed wings there. Also, if you are on a suite wing, those also will be co-ed, but you'll have single gendered by suite. So you might have a two-person suite of female and a two-person suite of male right next to each other. But so single gendered by room, but the bathrooms could be a little bit different. So I apologize. I'm still in my honors housing. Do not have traditional private and honors housing. So let me delete that really quick. It's always hard to demo on your account when we make so many changes and test so many things. So thank you for your patience with me. Um, okay, I'm going to look at this traditional private room, and I'm going to pick Weefald Hall. And you can see here where this co-ed wing is where you'll see. So this room, 431, is going to be an all-female wing. This one, 505, 6, 9, etc., is going to be on the A wing. So in Weefald Hall, there's 3 wings. Wing A is going to be co-ed. Wing B will be all female, and wing C is all male. So just know that that's kind of how that breaks down on there. The other thing to note, or a question that I saw come in is, so Steph and I are roommates. What does Steph need to do? So I'm the person that probably had the earlier selection time of the two of us. I went in and I'm picking this room for Steph and I. So what does Steph need to do? Um, once let me just go ahead and click. Stephanie should be getting an email confirming, hey, you have been assigned to WeFold 415. And so watch out for that email. Stephanie can also log into her resident portal. She can view her assignment information and things like that to also confirm that. Let's say that Stephanie's room selection time, I selected on April 1. Stephanie's room selection time is not until April 9th. Stephanie will not be able to go in and make any changes to that assignment until April 9th comes along. Once April 9th comes and that her room selection time is open, Stephanie could then go in and make changes to her own personal assignment. So she can get pulled in, but she can't make changes or select a different room until her room selection time comes up on that. The other thing to note is if Steph and I are roommates and I've assigned us to WeFold 415, if Stephanie goes in, a week later and changes the room because we're confirmed roommates, she will change it for both of us as long as we are those confirmed roommates. So Stephanie then could move the two of us over to WeFold 416, for example. So just being aware, as long as you're confirmed roommates, you're moving through the system together as pairs, unless you specifically say, I don't want to include this person in that reservation. So that's how Steph can go through, or Steph maybe says, I'm done with Kathy, I don't want to be her roommate anymore. She can either add or update her roommates page and take me off, or she could just go in and select a new room without me as that preferred roommate. Just coming in and updating me on that roommate is not going to delete my assignment from that room. So again, we have to resync those two systems. So if you make a change to that roommates, make sure that you go in and add and update that room reservation on there as well. I think those were some of those.
Yeah.
I'll go through.
Some other,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
for it.
Moore Hall. So we are We are betting on optimism and living in reality, as I like to say. So we are currently doing those renovations right now. Moore Hall is still listed under the traditional room style. We anticipate that those rooms will be done, but in case they are not, we are having people reserve that as a traditional double room style. And if the renovations are done, then surprise, you win and you get the traditional private room style. So if you have any questions or concerns on that, just let us know. But if you are reserving a room in Moore Hall, um, the safe answer is it may be a traditional room, but we are very hopeful and very optimistic that it may be a traditional private setup on that. Couple of questions on if I'm in a cat community, but my preferred roommate is not. Yes, you can have roommates that are not part of your cat community. We have a unique cat community set up. Some schools, if you're in a cat community, you have to room with somebody in that cat community. You have to all live on the same floor. And so what we found is that's a lot of togetherness. And so what we have said is we want you to live with the person that you want to live with. So let's get you into that preferred, with that preferred roommate that's going to be a good fit for you. And so, yes, our cat community folks can bring in non-cat community people into their room selection. The other thing that I would say, and this came up as a question too, is if I'm in a cat community, and I'm just going to pick on AP Design, if I'm in the AP Design cat community and I select on March 24th, because I'm in a cat community, so I've got my credentials or my early access because of my cat community, and then I later drop my cat community, your room selection may be dropped. So we've seen people in the past that they said, "Oh, I want to be in a cat community so I can select first and then I'll just drop it later." Just be aware that your room selection would be dropped too. So that's not, if that's a way to try and get a room that you want, that's not a good option. You'll actually lose out in the end. So if you want to be in the cat community, which is a great option, we highly recommend it. We've got great success with those. Be in those. But if you're not sure or you definitely don't want to be in it, then yeah, just stick with your original room selection time. The other thing that comes up is if, and I see it over and over, is people aren't sure, so they go in and they select a completely open room, and you become the first person in that room. Anyone else that's eligible could take that open space in the room. So if I take it and Whitney comes in, or like I demoed, Whitney was in the room and I came in and took that second space. If Whitney and I start talking and Whitney's like, I don't like Kathy, I don't want to room with Kathy. Um, if Whitney makes the choice, Whitney would need to go select a new room. Whitney cannot kick Kathy out of the room just because Whitney had the room selected first. So just because you're in the room first doesn't mean you get to control the room in that way. So if you don't want to live with Whitney anymore and Whitney wants to stay in that room, then you would need to move on to a different room. So just being aware, a lot of times people just pick the open room because they think it's going to be the easier. But what I would recommend is maybe pick that open room, but then go in and truly start trying to find that roommate. You will have a roommate. We can almost guarantee it. So you could decide your fate, or you could have fate decided for you, is what I like to say. So we just recommend that you decide your own fate and really do that information. A lot of other things that have come up is, are you going to have room? Yes, we have room for our freshman class. We will have a space. Do I have the space in the room type that you want? Perhaps not. As we get later on, our 2x2 suites are very popular. I'm betting that, some of those later dates, they will not be showing, they will be gone. So I always tell people have a solid plan B, be watching that inventory link. We will have a space for you. It just may not be in your actual ideal preferred room style. So just being aware of that. But we do have room. We are really excited about this freshman class coming in, and so we'll be um, a little bit fuller than we were last year, and so it's a good chance that you will have a roommate. We have very, very few one-person room options, and so I anticipate having a roommate on those room types. Are there,
There are several questions just about honors housing. So Kathy covered this specifically with cat communities, but I just want to reiterate it for honors housing. If you are in honors housing, your other roommate does not have to be accepted into honors housing, but one roommate does need to be accepted and confirmed into honors housing. Additionally, and just want to make sure am answering this question correctly. Um, Similarly for cat communities, if you decide that you no longer want to be in honors housing, that will take off your earlier room selection date and time and will take you back to what you would see right now within your resident portal of the date and time for room selection determined specifically by your contract in April. So you're going to see that change. Additionally, if you have already selected a space within honors housing, when you choose to no longer be in honors housing, that is going to, again, we're going to have to take you out of honors housing. And then if it still lines up with your room selection date and time, you will then go back to that room selection date and time. So, the other question that we see is just in general about cat community, not knowing if you have received confirmation about being in a cat community. Specifically, want to reiterate that this is residential because there are other cat community options as well that are non-residential. So meaning they're not tied to a specific residence hall. You will know if you are confirmed for a cat community because you will currently see that March 24th room selection time or date rather. And but if you do have any questions, if you're unsure, if you don't see that date and time, please reach out to K-State First. That is the office that manages our cat communities at K-State First at ksu.edu. And they would be able to follow up with you and let you know about your status and everything specific to that cat community or whichever specific cat community you're interested in. Just looking through some of the other things here to make sure we can cover as many questions as possible. Um,
Whitney, one of the questions that came up is they hadn't done a contract yet, and so they had some concerns about paying that initial contract payment. Please contact our office. We do not want that to be a barrier to you getting signed up. And so please just contact our office. We'd be more than happy to help. If you have concerns paying or about the costs of attending K-State, things like that, we want to make sure we get you connected with your financial aid advisor. They are going to be the experts on your particular case and can help you really understand what that is going to be um, or what would be available for you on that. I've seen a lot of questions on what's the room next to or the halls next to AP Design or where should engineering students live. I would say that we have architecture students and engineering students. I'm picking on those two right now, just those were the two examples that came up. They live in every building across campus. And so please don't think that you have to live in a certain building because you are those majors. You can pick the building of your choice. That being said, a lot of our engineering students, for instance, choose the Kramer site just because it is right across the street from the engineering complex. So again, not a requirement, but if you are looking for the buildings closest to the engineering complex, that is the Kramer community. So I go ahead and do that. I'm trying to look through.
I am going to show one thing because there's a
Okay.
question about PDFs and being able to access the floor plan layouts for specific room styles within each building. So I'm just going to quickly show you where to access that. We also linked it in our most recent email. So you'd be able to find it there as well. But if you go to our residence hall page, so basically how to get there is this is our main page. If you hover over, if you're on a computer, and navigate to housing and click on residence halls, or if you're on a mobile device, it will pop up somewhere kind of along here. We'll have a drop down menu. You can select housing and then go to residence halls. Then you can go by individual building, and this is going to be available for every single building. I'm just going to use Ford Hall as an example. You can click on Ford Hall and then navigate down to the section that says floor plans. Underneath that, you can click on floor plans with dimensions, PDF, and then it's going to open up all of these different options for you to be able to look through, specifically for just knowing what are the dimensions and the different room styles available in those spaces.
Whitney, can I add to that?
Yeah, go for it,
So
Steph.
a common question that's coming in is asking about floor plans of the buildings. For security reasons, we do not post those on our website, but we do post them on our resident portal prior to room selection. So we will be coordinating that, and typically it goes out around the same time as the inventory link. So we will let everyone know, but yes, there will be floor plans available so you can see where your room is that you're wanting on the floor, in the hall, all of those things.
We've seen a couple of questions come through of how many suites are in this type of building, how many two-person suites or how many one-person suites. Right now, we could answer that question for you, but it's all going to be dependent. Our current returning students are still selecting as kind of everyday things like that. Once our CAT community students go in, so that number changes all the time. And so that's why we would just recommend on that March 25 when that inventory link goes live. That's going to be our best assessment of what's available at that moment in time. And so you can just kind of be watching that. I know that may be not the answer that you're wanting, but I could tell you the answer 20, but it depends on where you're at on the room selection. You know, when's your room selection time? Are you male? Are you female? Like there's just too many variables for us to give you a great answer. So we just say, please just watch that inventory link. That's going to be your best source of truth on that piece right there. So. Let's see, I'm trying to look through other ones that we are going through. Answered that one. The room sync should be available. And so if you haven't found the room sync, can I share my screen again? So in the resident portal, you can go into this find roommate and you can click here on this top link. If you go to the room sync page first, it will say, because room sync works with many schools, and so it's going to say, which school are you going to want to work with? So if you go to your resident portal and click on this link directly, it will take you to the K-State section of room sync so that you start getting paired with other students from K-State. So that's how we would recommend that you get into that room sync. If you have any questions, you can definitely call our office. Sometimes, so this is a third-party software, and so sometimes if it's a technical issue, we may refer you on over to room sync to get some additional assistance on that. But in general, so we don't get to control that website significantly other than getting you access to that website. So just being aware of that. But if you have issues, please call us so we can help. We'll help you problem solve as much as we can.
Looks like just a few questions left, and we want to make sure that we can get everything. Kathy, could you talk about how for suites, specifically, I think this question is a 2x2 suite, how you can
Mhm.
know which side of that suite to choose.
Yeah, so the way that the system is set up right now, and we are getting a new system this fall. We're really excited, but so a lot of things will be changing. But currently, the way that the room selection is the system just assigned you based on that room number. So the 102, 104 suite was a good example. It will fill the 102 room and then it will start assigning the next people to the 104 room. That's why we'll send out the information. I mean, you can see which one you're in, but we'll send out the information probably late May, early June that says you are specifically in room 102 and here's your suite meets in 104. If this needs to change, just let us know and we will change that assignment for you. Moving forward in future years, that will be more controlled by the individual. But unfortunately for this year, it still does require staff intervention. Please call us. We're happy to help on that. Um, let's see. If you are majoring in business, can you still live in a hall in a residence halls? Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of business students that live with us. Um, and again, we have business students. We don't have any building that is only one particular major. I mean, majors are truly spread out. We'll also see things like, I want to do sorority recruitment, so therefore I need to live in Ford Hall. Incorrect. We have sorority recruitment students or students that go through sorority recruitment that live in every single hall. And so band members live in every single hall. And so that's what's really unique is each of those halls has just a real wide community of interests. And so, yeah, again, it came down to just because you may not get your first choice initially, doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad choice. You may get into your second choice, but then find that it's a really good choice. We actually have polled students that said, hey, did you get your first choice? They said no, but I've been able to find my community and my second choice, and it's been great. The other thing that we tell people is, you know, we try and get people settled in the fall, but if something's really not working, make sure you're talking with your RA and your community coordinator, and we can work on getting your assignment changed if we have space available to do that. So just make sure you're talking with your RA, the staff, so we know how to help you in those types of situations. Um, let's see. Let's see. Again, which hall are recommended for engineering male student? Any hall that you want to live in. The Kramer complex. So we followed Goodnote and Marlatt are the ones directly across from the engineering complex, but definitely not required. Engineering students are all over. So what if you have 3 roommates, but all the suites are taken? What a great question. And unfortunately, that is going to happen. Or maybe you have a group of 4 and all the suites are taken. What we would recommend then is you will need to make adjustments to your preferred roommates. You may need to take 2 of your preferred roommates off your list. And then we recommend try and go in and select 2 double rooms that are next to each other. The other thing is continue to just watch the room page. People may cancel, or I may find, oh, I want to live with Steph, and we were both in a completely, we were in the room singly. We didn't have roommates, and now we're together. Well, suddenly that opened up a room there. So people will ask us to predict, and I said, man, I'd be a billionaire if I could predict how those room selection pieces went. So it's just a constantly moving puzzle, and we do our very best to help you. But we always just recommend just log in, occasionally select. You can change your room. When you do that change room, it will assign you to the new room before it takes you out of the old room. So there is no risk in going in and changing your room and looking at different options. Until you say reserve that room, it will not drop your old reservation, and it won't assign you to the new room, or it won't drop your reservation until you're officially assigned in that new room. So there's no risk. Just go ahead, go in there, look around, and if you want to change your room, definitely go ahead and do that. But yeah, again, if you have questions, just let us know.
All right, look, goodness. All right, well, it looks like we have about 2 more questions. or a third one just came in, so I'm just gonna kind of talk as we have the team answer the rest of those questions so we can make sure all of those are answered. So as we're doing that, I just want to say thank you all for joining us this evening. I know we've had some people jump off as we've gone through some of these questions. So if you still have something that you would like more information about, I know we have talked about this several times, but please reach out to us and let us know, especially for instances in which there are very specific things that you may need. Let's talk about that and make sure that we can help with all of those different pieces of information that you need. Don't forget the live Q&A on Instagram tomorrow. And just thank you so much for joining us. Again, this webinar is going to be available tomorrow, the recorded version of it, so you can refer back to it. And again, have a wonderful evening, and good luck with selecting your room.